Nintendo just dropped a new trailer for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom completely out of the blue. We got a glimpse at a ton of new characters, locations, and game mechanics in the trailer, and the game's website was also updated with a bunch of new screenshots and videos showing off even more. So subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content, and as always, let's break it down. Echoes of Wisdom's newest trailer is called Traversing Hyrule, and it focuses mainly on the world of Hyrule itself, as well as the new ability, Bind. The trailer is split up into a few different sections, highlighting different parts of the game. First is Tour of Hyrule, as you'd expect, taking us around the game world's different areas and showing off its towns and characters. The trailer opens with a shot we've seen before, one which likely takes place at the very beginning of the game, where we can see an overview of this game's version of the Kingdom of Hyrule. As I mentioned in my previous trailer analysis, this Hyrule appears to be loosely based on the overworld of A Link to the Past and A Link Between Worlds, but it's not one-to-one. This Hyrule is vastly expanded, and many things have changed since those games. For one, Hyrule Castle isn't just a castle, its walls protect Castle Town. We can see the entrance to the main castle, here, defended by two Hyrulean soldiers. The trailer then shows Castle Town properly, with the central fountain and various NPCs visible. There's a screenshot for an extra look here, showing off a group of citizens talking to the princess. There's then another shot from the beginning overview of Hyrule, before the trailer begins to show off specific regions in detail, beginning with the Gerudo Desert. According to the voiceover, the desert is sand dunes as far as the eye can see, full of ruins, mysteries, and dangerous sandstorms. We can see cacti scattered across the sand, as well as an enemy here in the top right. The tilt-shift effect blurs it a little too much for us to pick out any detail, but it looks reminiscent of a fish, only one that swims in sand. The Zelda series is no stranger to this, however, with Breath of the Wild introducing Molduga, giant predatory sand whales who swim beneath the ground. As we progress through the trailer, the influence of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on this game becomes ever more apparent, so perhaps this sandfish is another idea taken from the Switch titles. The next shot shows Zelda caught in a sandstorm, clearly affected by the heat. It's possible that, again like in the Switch games, the player will have to keep track of the temperature of Zelda's environment, and wearing different clothes or consuming various items will help her to keep cool. After this, Zelda runs through Gerudo Town, which we got a tiny look at in the previous trailer. She's running towards a building protected by two Gerudo guards. But there are a few other interesting details to note. On the roofs of these buildings we can spot a cat and a bird sitting on a giant pot. Zelda will obviously be able to reach these roofs using her new abilities, so I wonder how she'll be able to interact with these. Zelda reaches the building's entrance, where she overhears the guards talking. The rifts in Gerudo Desert don't seem to be getting any smaller. So, just like the rest of Hyrule, the desert has been plagued by the appearance of mysterious rifts, pulling matter from the world into a sinister, alternate dimension. Next, Zelda uses her Echo ability to spawn a moblin, who begins to fight a group of beetle enemies which return here from Link's Awakening. On the ledge above are two things. They might be termite mounds, maybe even the source of these bugs. They're glittering with triangle symbols, implying they can be learned as an echo. Maybe Zelda can use them to spawn bugs and harass enemies. She then runs up to an oasis in the desert, where she decides to take it easy, and spawns a bed to nap in. Nearby, we can spot a woman selling fruit, one of many shops which appear all across Hyrule. We'll see what these shops are for later on in the trailer. To Zelda's left are two Gerudo women, as well as the top of what appears to be a partially hidden business scrub. There's a screenshot showing Zelda talking to these women, as well as another, unique Gerudo, one who wears a gold and green sun symbol on her head. We'll see her again at the very end of the trailer. Next up is Jabul Waters, home of the Zora. The name Jabul seems to follow the naming convention of the water spirits, like Jabu Jabu, patron deity of the Zora in Ocarina of Time, and Jaboon, his descendant in the Wind Waker. Here we can see a Tektite leisurely skipping on the surface of a river near some stone pillars. At first, these don't seem particularly interesting, but the symbol on top of them is. It's the symbol of the water medallion from Ocarina of Time, which Link receives from Princess Ruto after the Water Temple. The trailer's voiceover confirms what we thought in the previous trailer, that this game will feature both the Sea Zora and the River Zora, two different clans who are often in disagreement with one another. We saw this before in Oracle of Ages, and it seems like the conflict between them will be a central part of their roles in Echoes of Wisdom. Slightly later in the trailer, we get a longer look at this scene, where a River Zora called Drad shouts at a Sea Zora wearing a crown that they should not have come here. Here is the same fountain seen at the beginning of this section, a place which seems to be some kind of shrine. Maybe this is even Lord Jabu Jabu's fountain. He might have vanished into a rift, causing the Zora conflict. Zelda swims near a Sea Zora, who is impressed that a Hylian could swim out this far. This comment, combined with the name Sea Zora and the abundance of blue on the minimap, suggests that this scene takes place off the coast of Hyrule, out at sea. And it seems that this is where the Sea Zora's main settlement is. Just underwater on Zelda's left, we can see a hidden door at the bottom of the sea, just below the Zora's crest. Above the door is a structure we can't quite see, but the minimap gives us a clearer picture. It seems to be a statue of a fish's tail. Zora's domains have often featured statues of giant sea creatures, like in Breath of the Wild, making it possible that this is what we're seeing here. Also on the minimap, just out to the right, we can spot another rift, so even the ocean isn't safe. Next, Zelda visits the River Zora. Again, looking at the minimap gives us a rough idea of where these aquatic people live, in huts built along a series of rivers and waterfalls. Unlike Oracle of Ages, the River Zora don't appear to be aggressive. At least, not this one, who welcomes Zelda to the River Zora village, where friendly hellos and good times flow. This hut is marked with a shop symbol, which we saw in the previous trailer too. Curiously, there's a lot of musical instruments around River Zora village, some kind of guitar, a horn, a pair of maracas, and a pan flute can all be seen around. This wouldn't be the first time Zora's got musical. Majora's Mask had Link aid the Indiegogos, a Zora band, so perhaps part of their questline will involve getting together and playing music in this game too. There's also a submerged chest here on the right, which Zelda will have to swim down to open, or perhaps she'll have to move the chest out of the water with one of her new abilities. Following this is a shot presumably taking place inside the Sea Zora's underwater home, as it looks to be found in a cave filled with shells and coral. Zelda approaches a shop which sells a red potion, a blue potion, and some leaves? Next up, the Volcano, which we know is located in the northwest of the map. Interestingly, this isn't called Death Mountain, but Eldin Volcano, like the mountain in Skyward Sword. In other games, like Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild, Death Mountain is the volcano situated within the Eldin province, but here it seems that the peak forgoes the Death Mountain name entirely for whatever reason. The first shot shows a scalable wall, where we can spot a few notable details like a chest, tiny Moldorm enemies, and slugs which leave behind a trail of fire, perhaps torch slugs. At the top of the cliff, we can spot barricades that have been set up by none other than the Gorons, whose symbol is visible on the flags here. Strangely, in the distant background, there appears to be a bomb explosion. There's a fuse visible for a second before it detonates. Why this would be visible so far away from the camera is unclear. Maybe there's an enemy like a Hinox nearby throwing bombs. This shot shows a rift that has taken a chunk out of a lava pool, but notably has only swallowed part of a giant boulder, which interestingly seems to have a door, meaning it could be anything from a Goron's house to the entrance to a dungeon. Like with other rifts, whatever has been taken from the overworld here will have ended up in this purple dimension. We can also see some classic Zelda lava platforms here, as well as a boulder falling, presumably after having been launched from an eruption at the volcano's peak. After this, the trailer takes us to Kakariko Village, found just west of Hyrule Castle. We've seen a few different shots of this village now, and in this one we can spot a shop, a cuckoo, multiple NPCs, and what might be a well, which, if you've played Ocarina of Time, might be a place to avoid. Following this, Zelda heads towards Goron City. At the top of the cliff we saw earlier, she meets an adorable chibi Goron, who directs her towards his home settlement nearby. And yep, it's Goron City, complete with a gigantic Goron face carved into the cliff above it. Inside Goron City, she meets Darston, who might be the chief. His name, Darston, uses the naming convention for other Goron chiefs in the series. Darunia in Ocarina of Time, Darmani in Majora's Mask, Darbus in Twilight Princess, and Daruk in Breath of the Wild. Darston shows Zelda some rock roast, a Goron delicacy, though apparently not one suitable for Hylians. Rock roast was introduced in Breath of the Wild, before Tears of the Kingdom's upheaval led to the discovery of poisonous marbled rock roast. The next area that the trailer takes us to is the Faren Wetlands, a vast jungle region. Faron is of course the name of many forest or jungle areas in the series, like in Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and again Breath of the Wild. I hope you're not bored of me pointing out similarities between Echoes of Wisdom and the two Switch games, because we're really only just getting started. In the distance, we can spot piranha enemies, like those which inhabited the swamp in Link's Awakening. The next shot is really cool, showing two ancient, broken statues of Deku Scrubs, a hint at the main race found in this part of the map. Maybe this is the entrance to a dungeon, some kind of forest temple. Or perhaps this is the Deku Scrubs' hometown, like the Deku Palace in Majora's Mask. In fact, the Faron region seems to be filled with these crumbling stone ruins, very similar to the Zonai ruins found in the Faron region in Breath of the Wild. Here, Zelda meets a few Deku Scrubs. If you look closely, you'll notice how each Deku sports a different hairstyle, including this awesome punk mohawk on this little guy here. This pair are enjoying sticks of candy floss, apparently made from spiders' webs. In fact, there seems to be a spider theme in this region. There's extra footage on the website of Zelda solving a puzzle in a really creative way by building a tower of trees and setting them aflame to burn a web. The next segment of the trailer focuses on quests, examples of who Zelda will help throughout her journey and how these quests will work. First is a panicked woman just outside of an animal pen, shouting, "Bok, Bok, please come back." Later, we see that Zelda has begun a quest called Cuckoos on the Loose, and the sign above the pen does appear to resemble a bird's head. Maybe she's lost her cuckoos. Next is a Gerudo woman in a cave, who mentions that all of the torches nearby have gone out. And after her dialogue finishes, a pop-up appears, showing that this is one of the game's main quests. We'll get a better look at this UI in a second. Following the Gerudo is a Hylian man holding a pitchfork, stuck up on top of some stone ruins surrounded by monsters. This one, unlike the Gerudo's quest, is just a side quest. Zelda will probably have to clear the nearby enemies for a reward. There is an interesting detail visible here on this wall, however, a wanted poster showing Zelda's face. Many people have theorized that the reason Zelda was imprisoned at the beginning of the game, and the reason she hides her face with a hood, is that she has been wrongfully accused of some kind of crime, in a very similar fashion to how Link is considered a criminal in A Link to the Past. The next shot gives us a look at Zelda's adventure log, an entire menu screen dedicated to recording and providing information on Zelda's quests. We can see at the top that the adventure log has been selected from a slider using the R button, represented by a diary icon. To the left is a map icon, which we'll get a proper look at later on in the trailer. The adventure log is split into two sections: main quests, marked with a Hylian crest, and side quests, marked with a speech bubble. We can see that Zelda has begun 4 main quests so far: the Mysterious Rifts, Searching for Everyone, A Rift in the Gerudo Desert, and Ancestors' Cave of Rest Rift, and 5 side quests: Cuckoos on the Loose, Tornado Ghost, Elusive Tumbleweeds, Upper Wall, and Finding the Flying Plant. Selecting a quest from the list will bring up information on it on the right. For example, the Ancestors' Cave of Rest Rift quest, which we saw Zelda get from the Gerudo woman in the cave, reads, "The torches at the gravesite inside the Ancestors' Cave of Rest have gone out, but the rift is blocking the path. The Gerudo soldier doesn't know how to access the torches to relight them." We also get to read the text for Finding the Flying Plant, which reads, "An elderly man from Southorn Village is hoping to cheer up his wife with a flying plant. He last saw it near some caves deep in Southorn Forest." From this screen, Zelda can mark quests on her map. It appears that 1 main and 1 side quest can be selected at once, with the main quest marked on the map with a yellow dot and the side quest marked with a blue dot. Interestingly, the first main quest on the screen, the Mysterious Rifts, can't be marked, which makes me think that this is a much larger, more general goal given to Zelda at the start of the game, akin to the Destroy Ganon quest in Breath of the Wild, or the Find Princess Zelda quest in Tears of the Kingdom. The next shot shows Zelda in Gerudo Town accepting the Tornado Ghost quest, and after this, a Goron child talks about a glider ride, which Zelda will presumably do in place of his brother. There's another quest here, in Castletown, where a civilian wants to see a Zol enemy, and by creating an echo of it, Zelda can make his dream come true. There's another wanted poster visible here too, which I just think is cool. The next trailer segment details the game's fast travel system, confirming that the mysterious stones seen all across Hyrule are, in fact, waypoints Zelda can travel between. When Zelda first reaches these statues, they appear dormant, and it seems that Tri will lock onto them and can activate them with A. This will cause the waypoint to show on Zelda's map, which we get a proper look at here. Only some parts of the map are filled in. It's broken into sections by dotted lines, so perhaps Zelda will have to find pieces of the map as she progresses, just like in the Switch games. On the map, we can clearly see how this game's world is an expanded version of A Link to the Past. We can see the bottom part of that game's map, including the Great Swamp, Lake Hylia, and even the small hill where Link's house would be. Echoes of Wisdom's map is much larger, however, with Southorn Village and Southorn Beach added to the south. To the west, though it isn't filled in, we can see a cactus on the map, which would make sense, considering that this area in A Link to the Past is the Desert of Mystery. I'd wager that this has been expanded into the Gerudo Desert here. I can't wait to see just how big this game's map is, and what other areas have been introduced off the borders of this classic version of Hyrule. The trailer shows off the warp ability by having Zelda fast travel to the Southorn Prairie, before a shot of her travelling through the Faren Wetlands. Next is a twist nobody saw coming: Zelda can ride horses. Zelda mounts an adorable chibi steed and thunders across Hyrule, damaging minor enemies as she goes. Horses are very agile in this game. They can jump up cliffs and over small obstacles, and can of course cover ground very quickly. It seems that they'll be summonable once Zelda learns the echo for a carrot, and it appears that there are multiple different horses in the game. We see Zelda with both a brown and a white mount. Interestingly, the area Zelda rides the first horse towards shares a lot of similarities with Lon Lon Ranch. It's not certain, but it would make sense for Zelda to unlock horses here, just like in Ocarina of Time. In the next shot, Zelda is back near Goron City. visiting a business scrub where we learn what they're for. They make smoothies for the princess. This appears to be very similar to Breath of the Wild's cooking system. Zelda can combine materials, each with different effects, into a combo smoothie she can drink. In this menu, we can see her highlight an electro apple, which grants resistance to electricity, a chili cactus, granting fire resistance, fresh milk, boosting healing, and floral nectar, boosting the effects of other ingredients. The menu lets Zelda choose 2 of her ingredients and combine them. If she's already used this combination, then she'll see a preview of the resulting smoothie, and if not, she'll just see question marks. This system makes sense of a lot of curious items we've seen throughout both trailers, especially those sold by shops, and in the next shot, we get to see inside the River Zora shop we spotted earlier. Here, not only can Zelda buy the red and blue potions seen in the Sea Zora's shop, but seahorses, which we could spot in her materials on the smoothie menu. So it seems that Zelda will be able to gather materials from the overworld directly, but also purchase them from shops, and combine them at a business scrub to create whatever buffs she needs. This shop also sells an item, Zora's Flippers, which she can equip to boost her swimming speed. In the next shot, we get a look at Zelda's equipment menu screen, which has been selected from a slider, where we can also spot a heart piece icon, perhaps for an overview, a bag icon, maybe for materials, what looks like a potion, perhaps for smoothies, a book, which could be an encyclopedia providing information on her echoes, and a settings menu. In the equipment screen, we can see her gear split into 2 categories, accessories and clothing. In accessories, we see the player scroll through the Zora's Flippers, the Zora Scale, which increases the time Zelda can spend underwater, the Frog Ring, which boosts her jump height, and the Heart Pin, a hairpin which increases the frequency of recovery hearts appearing. The trailer also shows off 3 outfits for Zelda, her main hooded look, a riding outfit, and a Gerudo outfit. The next segment of the trailer shows off another one of Zelda's main abilities. Not only will Tri allow her to perform the Echo ability, copying and pasting enemies and objects, but the Bind ability too, a move which is incredibly similar to Tears of the Kingdom's Ultra Hand, even down to the same green glowing beam. The trailer shows Zelda use Bind to lift a gigantic boulder blocking her from a switch, and as you'd expect, Bind appears to link the boulder's movement to Zelda. We can see that another button prompt has appeared in the top right, not just Y for echoes, but X now too for Bind, represented by Tri itself. What we're seeing here is likely the very first time Bind is used in the game. The option is absent before a shot of Tri talking to Zelda, and then it appears afterwards. Zelda appears to be in the same temple we saw in the intro of the game. I'll talk more about this place towards the end of the video, where I cover the game's story. In the next shot, Zelda stands on the little hill where Link's house would be in A Link to the Past, and uses Bind exactly like Ultra Hand, to pull a buried chest out from the ground. But it can also do things Ultra Hand can't, like move enemies, either to drop them off of cliffs, or to use them as weapons, like with this sea urchin. But there's another side to the Bind ability, called Reverse Bond. Once Zelda has bound an object, she can switch whether the object is bound to her movement, or she is bound to its movement by pressing R, allowing her to do things like float across bottomless pits by latching onto a moving platform, fly alongside a bird, move quickly alongside an armadillo enemy, or even climb with a Skulltula. It's going to be so much fun experimenting with the Echo and Bind abilities, especially using them in conjunction with one another. The next shot shows Zelda summon a mole enemy, despawn it, and then drop a moblin into the hole left behind. I've seen some people say that they're unsure about the combat in Echoes of Wisdom, that perhaps it's too gimmicky, and that they'd prefer a more traditional sword and bow. I do understand the sentiment. These mechanics do look like a lot to handle at first, but I personally can't wait to play with them and find unique combinations to take on foes. Echoes of Wisdom is so incredibly creative, and it looks like everything from its exploration and puzzle solving to its combat encounters will have an unbelievable amount of depth. The trailer ends with a story teaser. First, we see Hyrule Castle engulfed in a rift. The entrance flanked by guards we saw earlier is swallowed whole, and denizens of Castletown are forced to flee the expanding void. It's a little unclear when this event occurs, since we see multiple shots of Castletown before this destruction. But it's possible that this rift appearing in Hyrule Castle coincides with this clip, only found on the Japanese website, which shows the King of Hyrule save Zelda but fall into the rift himself. It's interesting how, as characters disappear into the rift, they seem to lose their colour. We've seen this a few times now, where characters become washed out as they vanish. I'm not sure what to make of this. It's difficult to try and piece together the game's story right now, but it seems that the game begins with Zelda captured by Ganon in this temple before his trident opens the first rifts in Hyrule. Then, it seems that these guards meet Zelda and take her back to Hyrule Castle, where she talks with the king, until he is taken by a rift. We don't know this for certain, but it does seem that this clip takes place early on, as Zelda is without Tri. Zelda is then imprisoned. Perhaps she's somehow blamed for the events happening across Hyrule, and meets Tri in her cell. Following this is a section where Zelda and Tri escape the dungeons. There's additional footage on the website of the princess using a pot to distract and hide from Hyrulean guards, and of her building a ladder from beds to reach a window. There's also this shot from the first trailer of Zelda fleeing from an expanding rift, also in this basement area. After escaping, it seems that Zelda and Tri head back to the temple where she had been held by Ganon. We can even see what might be this temple on the map screen here, and the route Zelda might have taken to get to it. Here, Zelda learns the Bind ability, and fights this golem, which notably glows purple, the same colour as the rifts that have opened. Might defeating this enemy remove some of the rifts? Back to the trailer. Next, we see the rifts spawning phantom enemies. Shadowy moblins drop from multiple rifts, including the newly formed rift in the middle of Castletown, which we can see has swallowed the fountain. The next shot shows what could be a dungeon entrance, with a fish-like stone carving as the entrance. The surrounding environment looks similar to the home of the River Zora, making it likely that this place is connected to their questline. Here we see a group of Gerudo, two soldiers, who seem to be attacking the rift with spears, to no avail, and the same woman in white we saw in this screenshot. The camera pans out and we see Zelda standing before two new characters. An impressive looking Gerudo wielding a trident, who might be chief of the Gerudo like Riju is in the Switch games, and another woman wearing distinctly non-Gerudo clothes. Judging from her skin, and particularly her nose, it does seem likely that this is another Gerudo, but we can't learn anything else about who she is. Notably, the rift just north of Zelda has a golden ripple pattern in it, and we learn what this is from the very next shot. Tri is able to use these ripples to create entrances into the rifts, and Zelda can jump inside to explore. The game's first trailer showed a clip of the princess exploring inside a rift, a bizarre world filled with stolen chunks of the overworld. Considering that there are multiple entrances to these rifts, it seems likely that they'll function as pocket challenges, literally breaking up overworld exploration. Overall, I really didn't think I could get more excited for Echoes of Wisdom, but I have. This trailer's introduction of an entirely new ability in Bind, as well as a proper look at just how large and detailed this game's world will be, has made September 26th feel further away than ever. It really does seem like this is a top-down game in the same vein as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, a sandbox Zelda game which gives the player incredibly powerful tools and invites them to just experiment with them. This level of depth and creativity, combined with what looks to be a vibrant, living Kingdom of Hyrule packed with quests, makes Echoes of Wisdom look like a joy to play through. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Did I miss any cool details? What do you think of the Bind ability? I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.